All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us on this episode of Let's Talk Photography. No, so I was explaining to the rest of the chat that this is an episode about horror stories. So horror stories can be anything that makes a photo shoot or a page shoot kind of like trash. So I'm thinking about times where the client was annoying. I'm thinking about times where I messed up. I'm also thinking about times where the conditions just were not conducive to a photo shoot for that day. So like if you guys have any stories or anything like that, let's hop off, let's start this, let's blow this popsicle stand. uh, so yeah, I mean, this is a free flowing conversation, so like you can kind of just go wherever. And yes, I'm not gonna start because I'm the host.
I'll start then. So for those of you who don't know, I go to the University of Iowa, and yeah, it's about as exciting as you'd think it is. But I was in some entrepreneurship class last year, and for our final project, we basically had to create a business and take it all the way up to where we start the Kickstarter, basically. And so you had to like create a video, come up with a business plan, and all of that stuff. And so I was in a group of 4, and there was this one guy in the group who basically already started a business. So like we just rolled with it. Like we had the stuff done. The professor didn't care. So it was a super easy class, except this dude just assumed that he didn't have to do work. And so I work for the university doing video production, so I use some of their equipment, and I filmed this, basically a Kickstarter video for it. And long story short, basically how the copyright works is I own the copyright because I filmed it. The university owns the copyright because I used their equipment as well as video clips that I had shot on the clock. And this guy's like, hey, can I use this for my actual Kickstarter? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't care. But like, you'll have to pay me because I'm going to have to re-edit it so that the university video clips aren't in there. Because again, copyright law at the university is awful to deal with. And he's like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'll just give you like $20 or something. I'm like, wait, what? No, you're not paying me $20 for what amounts to about a day's work. I'm like, I get paid blah, blah, blah per hour. And like, that's not nearly enough. And and he got so pissed. He ended up just like saying like, you're so insufferable to work with. I'm like, I'm not insufferable. I just want to know your predicted audience, how much money you're trying to raise on Kickstarter so I can accurately price this out like you're supposed to do. And he's like, he ended up just sending me a fuck you message. And he's like, the only reason I'm not using the video is because my mentor advised me that if I use this video without your permission, you're going to sue me. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm going to sue you. Like, I've already copyrighted the video with the US Copyright Office. Like, I'm waiting for you to illegally use it so I can sue the shit out of you. And he ended up getting another video made. I don't know how much he ended up paying for it. It was okay quality at best, but I still see him around. And I think the funniest part of the entire thing was like his idea for a business wasn't actually that great. He couldn't patent it or anything. So, I mean, he was kind of bound to fail in a way, but I guess I got the last laugh because he somehow learned about copyright law.
That's crazy. That's wild. Some people just don't know what you're worth. So I'm gonna go to Kayla next. So Kayla, tell us a story, and before you start, show us the 5 pictures you queued up, just so the people get a feel for your work.
I like am in the process of moving, so I didn't have my hard drive with me, so I just pulled some stuff off of a Google Drive, so they're just grad photos. But usually in college, what I was mainly doing was graduation photos and then event photography. And by chance, I don't know. I don't love event photography. I just do it for the money. So those are never my favorite photos, but let me share my screen. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Okay, sweet. So this is a good friend, Jean, whose grad photos I took last year. And then a good friend this year, Angela. One of my good friends, Guy. Another friend, Atanaz. And then I'm so happy. One of my favorite photographers on campus, Fatih, who's in the Center for Documentary Studies, had me take these 2 days ago. So I got those edited, and luckily I got to show those today. But so yeah, that's kind of like a general sense of what my work looks like. I think most of my horror stories kind of originate from event photography. Those are usually the worst ones because it's usually going to a Greek life event for 3 hours and everyone is very intoxicated. And there is like this general weird dynamic of I'm working the event and like I'm there to service them, which is just, there's just so many weird like little things that are said, and like having drunk people all night coming at you like asking for their photo and then like demanding that they be done within like the day. I think that's kind of, for me, that's like the biggest thing at Duke that was the most frustrating thing about photography, is definitely those events, because it wasn't just the 3 hours working there, it would be, you know, the 3 hours of editing them afterwards, and then having people find my number somehow and be texting me and asking me when the photos would be ready. And I was like, it's been a day. Like, it's been literally a day. Like, relax. Like, I'll get them done when I get them done. I don't get paid for the extra time that goes in afterwards. And even then, like, there's like event companies on campus that really undercut the independent photographers. Like, they charge, I think, like $60 an hour, and those photographers, I think, only get $30 an hour from it. The company holds the other 50%, and they don't edit the photos, so they just give you the photos, so you get them within a day. So yeah, basically, my horror story is recurring. It happens almost every single time. That's why I stopped doing it senior year. It's just like, I'm not doing this. I'm not dealing with the stress of it anymore. But no, it's just those events, and like in general, there's just like a weird dynamic of like, I'm there working for you even though I am your peer. So yeah, I think that for me is the biggest horror story, has just been event photography. Grad photos usually go pretty smoothly. Anytime it's a horror story, it's usually my fault. I usually forgot something, or it's shit weather and there's just nothing I can do about it. But no, event photography, 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Corey, you're muted.
Yep, gotta take it off mute every time, bud.
My fault. I said, MJ, I'm gonna hit you next. You're the next on my screen. So if you could share your screen, show us a few of your pictures, and then talk to us about your horror story.
All right, but let me know if you can't see my screen, okay?
All right, baby.
All right, y'all with me? So here are a few pictures.
We only see your profile pic.
My profile pic?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna come to you. On my phone, so.
True.
You with me?
Oh yeah, we see.
All right, but so.
True.
Here's a photo. I try to put together like a photo shoot in Boston to like design like a whole set and everything. So there's some pictures from it. That one, this one. This was in New York with one of my friends on the Brooklyn Bridge at like 5 in the morning. And this one. So those are a few pictures. I try to do like mostly Black people, brown people, and Yeah, try to do like kind of commercial style shoots. It's kind of what I've been leaning towards. As far as horror stories go, I don't know what's the longest it's taken any of y'all to ever get paid. But my record is 7 months. So I don't know if anyone got me beat. Let me know if you do. But I think I might
7
have the
months?
record. 7
I
whole
still haven't
months.
been paid for a shoot I did 4 years ago.
Jesus
Duke,
Christ, that's
the
ridiculous.
Duke Fraternity Council never paid me either.
That's awful. Yeah, and like
Yeah.
I kind of assumed that was gonna happen. I was like, you know what, they're not gonna pay me. It's fine. It's whatever. I've already given it up. But the reason it was so bad, not even just the timeline. So I get hit up a few days before this fashion show, and this company is just this magazine is like, yeah, blah blah blah. Can you shoot this video for us? This and that. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I'll send you invoice, like I send you all this stuff, send me the deposit, blah blah blah. But they never email me. They never send me the information. So the day comes of the fashion show, and I'm just like, I mean, okay, whatever. Like, I'm just gonna go kick it with my friends because they're having a birthday party. I was like, whatever, it's fine. This is in New York, and the day comes, and then they hit me up like 2 hours before, and they're just like, hey, are you coming? Blah blah blah. So I'm just like, what do you? What? No, I'm not coming. Why would I be coming? So that was a red flag, and I probably should have just deaded it there. But I was like, you know what, fine, I'll go shoot this video. And it was one of the first like videos I did for like a larger like a fashion show. So I go get set up. When I get there, it's really disorganized to even get set up. They get my passes and stuff. The event goes pretty smoothly. But yeah, so that was fine. Then they wanted me to shoot the after party to the fashion show, which was like on a yacht or a boat. And I was like, you know what? I don't really feel like doing this any longer today. Y'all can have it. Like, leave me alone. So whatever. I go back and edit the footage, this and that. Essentially, through my contact with the magazine, I was told I'll be paid soon, and I was like, all right, that's cool. Whatever. Just send me this and that. Send it to me. So about like 2 weeks go by, I'm like, okay, like you should. I've sent you the video. Like, where is the money? Don't I hear something back, and then they direct me to the like the editor, and I was like, okay, fine. I don't know why I'm talking to her. Um, Nothing that comes from that. Then she apparently go to the country. I can't get in contact with her. She's texting me. She's like, can you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, fine. Like, I'll send you in a different way. Just send me the money. So this is probably month one. And then after that, it was really just like a game of cat and mouse. Like, I would text or call, get no response, leave voicemails. And then at a certain point, after like month four, I was like, you know, whatever, it's fine. Um, it like is whatever. But then they came back to me asking me about something, and I was like, you haven't paid me for this. And then they were like, okay, oh, our fault. Like, we'll send you the money. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Just send me the money. Then a month later goes by. I'm like, okay, man. Like, so at this point, I have all these documents stating that they're intent to pay on multiple times, on multiple accounts. So at this point, my initial point of contact wasn't responding. The editor wasn't responding. And then so I'm like, okay, I have to go through the Instagram DMs of this company. Like, this is what we got to at this point. So I started sending them like screenshots. I'm like, hey, like, this will be paid, hasn't been paid. This is my correspondence with whoever. Send me the money. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know that, I don't know how that happened, blah blah blah, all this stuff. They're like, we had a change in the business department to tell the invoices got paid and this and that. And I was like, no, it hasn't got paid. But like, anyway, that's still ridiculous. Like, that's just bad on your part. Fast forward, I guess 2 more months, still haven't gotten paid. And I'm just like, okay, look, y'all are really just like, this is disrespectful at this point. So I was like, granted, 4 people in my family are lawyers, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna take this. Like, y'all want to play games, we can play games. So I said, hey, I'll be contacting my lawyer to let you, and they'll be contacting you, and all right, cool, have a good day. I just sent them all the information. I was like, this will be going to my lawyer as well. And then they hit me back like super quick. They were like, no, like, why? Like, what's going on? I'm like, what do you mean what's going on? You haven't paid me. So eventually at the month 7, they paid me. And then they're like, we just hope that you're not rubbed the wrong way. Hope we can work with you in the future, yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, I mean, I guess like you can, but I'm trying not to be, I'm trying to be an ass about it, but I'm really, really annoyed. You've really just like been disrespectful and wasting my time. And then they wanted like the friends and family discount I give people. And I was kind of like, for the next job, they wanted it. And I was just like, look, man, like, y'all are kind of wild at this point. y'all really out of your mind. So I did another video for them. They paid me on time, everything. It was fine. But then they wanted me to re-edit footage from the fashion show and combine it with other footage I filmed. But they didn't want to pay me for it. And I was like, this video's only 30 seconds, fine, I'll do it. I did it like an hour. I was like, fine, whatever. And then they like sent me, they were like, you can choose music, you do whatever. I was like, all right, cool, whatever, I don't care. So I did it, sent it to them. They had an issue with the song. And it was like Juicy by Doja Cat. And I was like, bro, don't no one dislike this song. I was like, I don't like, so I asked them, I
Just
said,
canceled,
one,
bro.
this song went double platinum. Like, first of all. Second of all, no one that I know dislikes this song. I don't know who in your like group had a problem with it, but they have a problem with it. They can send me another song. And then I said, also, I don't like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not being paid for this.
Not correct me if I'm wrong.
So you can't make demands of someone you're not paying. And then I've had like one more interaction with them, and I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, you're not paying. But they paid me for the job. They try to like sneak other things in there. So it's a lot of like people being unprofessional, unorganized. It's yeah.
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst. How many? So like when y'all are paying or when y'all are working with clients, how many like edits after do you allow? So like people will try to stack on work. Well, they'll be like, hey, can you fix this and fix that and fix this? And then like 3 or 4 weeks after, you're still fixing something for something you probably already spent the money for. And so it's like, how long do y'all work on a project after the original date? I'll start with Marvin and Kayla.
For pictures, I like once you get one edit. That's that. But with videos, I give you at least 2, max 3, but at least 2.
I've only had, I feel like people actually ask me to do that for them a couple times, and it's usually like something super minor. They just like, they don't like how, I don't know, they just want like the highlights turned down or something on something. Like, that's fine, I'll do that. I have had the one weird thing I've had people ask me to do. I think I've had like 2 people ask me to do this. Other photographers whose photo I've taken, they've asked me to send them the raw files. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not going to take the photos and then you put your like editing style on it. And like, I don't like that. Cause then also like, you're going to tell people I took it. And if I don't like the way you edited them or something like crazy like that, like I won't do that. So if it's like, and that's the thing, it's like grad photos. Like if you don't like the way your grad photos look altogether, that's like a whole different story. But yeah, no, it's like if it's minor things, I'll do it. I don't really mind. But if it's like, yeah, like asking me to send you all the raw files, I'm not doing that. Also, like I've been doing this for 4 years. You know what my editing style looks like. So if you're like gonna be like, I don't really like the way like the photos look, like I don't like the and it drives me insane, but like I don't like the filter you put on it. I was like, I don't put a filter on photos. That's like not what I do. But and like also like you've seen the way I edit photos, like you know the way it looks like. So if you don't like it, then I don't know why you hired me. So that's like entirely different. But luckily I haven't had anything too crazy with that. But yeah, if it's little things, I'll do it. But I just don't like when people ask me to send them the entire raw files. That really like gets under my skin.
Okay, then I have another question then. What is something y'all think y'all wish clients understood? Like there are things that, people who you're taking pictures of just don't understand. Like whether it's your editing style or the way that like, but there are things that people don't understand. What is one thing you wish that people understood a little bit more? This one's to all the photographers in the room.
I'm unmuted, so I'll just start. Something, maybe it's just, I don't know why I get this one a lot, but like almost every time I take a picture, I feel like of like female identifying people, I get a lot like, will you like edit this out for me? And I'm like, no, like I'm not gonna, I don't know, that one like makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm like, I'm not gonna face tune your face for you. And like, I don't know, that makes me feel really uncomfortable. They're like, can you like remove this zit? I'm like, look, if you want to do that afterwards, like that's fine. But like, I guess I just wish people understood like what the editing process looks like, because I'm not gonna sit and go through every single photo and like edit out like zits on your face. I'm not gonna do that.
One of my favorite, oh, my fault.
Go ahead.
One of my favorite phrases is like, make me look skinny. And I'll be like, I'm a photographer, not a miracle worker, sis. Like, I can't, what's in front of the camera is in front of the camera. Like, there's nothing I can do for you. It will, yeah, it's just like,
I also just feel like it sets up like kind of a negative vibe for the rest of the photo. I just feel like, because then it makes me feel like I'm doing something that makes you feel self-conscious. You know what I mean? Like, and I would never want to do that. So like, I don't know, when people, I just like wish people understood exactly like what the editing process looks like altogether. And that feeds into other things as well. As like, you know, when you're paying me, I'm basically just charging you for my time while I'm being there. But behind the scenes, I'm spending like another 3-4 hours on this. So I guess like the editing process in general, what it looks like and how much time it takes, it objectively takes way more time than taking the photos themselves.
I think I would agree on like the whole, I wish they would understand the editing process a bit more. So I tend to shoot more like fashion and commercial work. That's something that I do for fun. So basically my entire life is editing out zits and making people look perfect for a commercial reason, not because that's like what I think should happen. But I think people get a little unrealistic about what you can and can't remove in Photoshop without like making the scene look god awful. And then another thing is like people just expect like when you're moving to a new location, like if you've been shooting in the shade and then you're going into the sun, they're like the first photo you take, they're like, oh, we're done here. It's like, no, the settings, I have a rough idea of what the settings are, but I'd like to be able to fine tune them. Like I need to do a light test quick, calm down. We are in no rush and just like allow me to do my work, I guess. And yeah, I wish people wouldn't be so rushed with shoots, I guess.
One thing that happens, it doesn't really happen with clients, but it happens like when I'm home and like there's an event with my family and I take pictures for them. Particularly my grandma, she'll just be really like bossy. And she's like, hey, get this angle, like get over there, like make sure you get this pic, make it. And I'm just like, yo, like please leave me alone. Like I'll get it, like I'm gonna get it, like I promise you. But yeah, people like that's the thing that kind of irritates me. People like get this angle or get this or get that. I'm well aware of what's going on. I'm gonna get to everything, but please just like calm down a little bit. Like don't be pushing me around and telling me where to go. But I think that's really only like a family thing because I'm like their grandchild or whatnot.
Yeah, that's so real. And that actually reminds me of some of these pictures. So I'm gonna share my screen, and show y'all some of my favorite pictures I took for hire. So can you see what I'm seeing? Yes, no. Yep. All right, cool. So these are just some pictures of like McDougal Terrace residents. If y'all don't know about McDougal Terrace, ooh, sorry, my thing was glitching. McDougal Terrace was a whole case in Durham about carbon monoxide. And so like these were people at the city hall hearing who were talking and things like that. Wait, these right here. And these are kind of blurry, but I just really like these pictures. I really like this event. But kind of going back off of what people were talking about earlier. So a while back, I had a shoot with DBA, and they paid me like $45 an hour. It's one of my first ones, and I was really excited about this shoot because if you guys notice, Grant Hill's all in it. You feel me? And so I was I was really excited about the shoot because I was like, dang, I'm gonna get to photograph Grant Hill. Well, the shoot was fun. It was about 2 hours. And one of the things I will talk to anybody about shooting like big groups of Black people is just like everybody wants to look good all the time. And so like it was tough because not only did everybody want their own individual pictures, but they had ideas about how like the group pictures should look. And so like, and it's, and I touched on it a while back, but I say that, you know, group photography and event photography is like a people management thing. And so like in this particular shoot, when I was taking some of those group pictures early on, there are two ladies on each shoulder. Like, do y'all have this shot? Are they in frame? Are they in frame? Is the lighting okay? Are you sure the lighting's okay? Like one lady was like, the lighting's okay? And I would tell her yes. And then the other lady would be, are you sure it's okay? And I'd be like, yes. And then they would take pictures and they'd be like, that was too dark, that was too dark. And I would show them the picture and they'd be like, oh, you look really good. And it's almost like you guys paid me to do this job. But no, and it's just, it was interesting because they all had ideas of how they wanted to look. I got almost cussed out by one of the ladies in the back because I had them stand on stairs and I was shooting upward. And in the picture she saw her double chin. And she she pulled me aside and said, son, let me tell you about shooting women who are over the age of X, Y, and Z. And she gave me about a 5-minute talk about how to shoot pictures from below. And so, I mean, it's just, man, I love it. I love it. But it's a learning experience, man. Whew. Hey, Conrad, how are you?
What's up? How you doing?
Good, good. We're talking about, you know, some horror stories, and we're saying horror stories and like the clients were upsetting, horror stories and like you messed up, or there's just circumstances around it. But yeah, so yeah, it was quite the experience. So I guess my next question to y'all is like, what's the hardest thing to shoot, or like, what makes a shoot really tough for y'all? What makes for a good horror story, you know?
I would say when I don't have time to plan, in the sense of I haven't been like scout the location, I haven't really been given too many details. I'm just kind of told to show up at this place and time, try to put together a video for whatever. And with like very vague, I'm like, okay, like I can kind of get an idea what I'm supposed to do. But like I would like to really look at what I'm gonna do and like at least visit the place and kind of just like walk through things. Um, but that's the time when I'm like might kind of be a horror story. Like I just feel like uncomfortable because I haven't really thought through everything and like planned out everything.
I'm gonna agree with Kayla's statement about event photography being just awful. Um, I don't do it a whole lot, but I do it for the Indian Student Alliance here on campus, and every year they host a singing and a South Asian a cappella competition and a South Asian dancing competition, and like schools from all over the country come. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll make sure everything's in order. Like you don't have to plan anything, just show up and shoot. And I'm like, it'd be great if you sent me a schedule. But when I end up showing up, I have to do like group photos of them, and they're so unorganized. So like it's not even stuff that I can help. It's like the client being horribly unorganized, and that just makes for an awful time, and you're just standing around for hours and not getting the work done that you need.
I know that one thing that makes any shoot hard is when it's hot outside. And any of the group shoots you see me do, like most of them are done when it's kind of warm outside, or it's cold and we're shooting in the snow. Either way, it's there's a limit on the time. There's a cap on the amount of time that people want to be outside, right? And it's funny because I'll be taking shoots of, you know, 50 or 60 people, everybody will be talking, but then they want the shoot to be done quickly. And so it's like I'm moving people, and then they're once I get them moved, they're complaining that it's hot, and I'm like, oh, but you haven't stopped talking. And so like, and then I'm moving other people, and then they're at it's just hot, and if they're hot, I'm hot because I'm moving them all around, and so it's like, come on. But yeah, what are other things that y'all are thinking of that
I
makes a shoot?
also, and this is like a personal thing, but it really does depend on the mood I'm in. I feel like, when I'm not, especially like, I feel like I get really burnt out of doing like things like grad photos or event photos. So I'm kind of like, sometimes I'm like dreading it by the end of like the season, so to speak, of it. So I think for me, like, just trying to have good energy going into it, I think is like the biggest thing, because I feel like I just tend to like the photos more. It's just probably normal, but like I love photos so much more when it's like entirely I thought of the design, and like I got to shoot it on film. I got to pick the location, because those are ones I tend to be excited about. So like trying to find ways to like reactivate that excitement about client work, I think is something that like I'm working on. Yeah, just because like I find that I end up enjoying the photos a lot more when I'm excited to do them versus when I'm just thinking about it as like, all right, another job, I just got to go get this done. I really don't want to do this right now.
Real. Have y'all ever messed up before a shoot or during a shoot and has made the shoot go off? Like, I know I forget batteries all the time. Like, I forget batteries. I don't wipe my memory card. I forget my lights. Like, I do all the things that make shoots terrible. And I'm wondering, like, am I the only person that forgets stuff like often? Because I forget stuff often. Like, probably if I do 3 shoots a week, one of them each week, I forget a battery to something. And so, like, what do y'all do when that happens? How often do y'all do that? Things like that.
The worst fuck up I had, I was shooting the Iowa-Minnesota game, 2 ranked Big Ten teams on Saturday Night Football. And I have the camera I'm shooting video with, I have the camera I'm taking photos with. I completely forget all of my cards. 30 minutes to kick off. And Iowa being a very big football school, there's no easy way of getting out of the area where the stadium is. So I had to call my coworker and say, hey, I need you to go to the office and pick up as many memory cards as you can find for these cameras and deliver them to me. So that was my biggest mistake. So no, you're not alone, and it can always be worse.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest mistakes was I was shooting an event, like recording a video, and I just shot in the wrong frame rate, which kind of just messed up how I was going to edit it. So I had to like completely like scrap what idea I had as far as editing goes and do something completely different. But as far as like batteries and stuff, no, I pretty much keep them like I have like a checklist I go through every time before I do anything. So I very rarely forget things. But yeah, wrong frame rate is very annoying.
One time I did a shoot with film, and I just did half a shoot with no film in the camera. Like, like I thought I came to the shoot with the camera and extra rolls of film. Like, I had 3 or 4 extra rolls of film, and I thought I had a roll of a film canister in the camera. I start taking pictures. We really get in the groove. Like, I'm gassing the models. Like, ooh, yeah, I got you. Like, we're getting shots. Like, I'm changing the settings and stuff. Then like I get to what I think is like 30 pictures, and like I don't like it never there's no resistance in my like camera shutter. Like, I'm trying to pull it and there's no resistance, like it just keeps going. And then I look in the number and it still says 0 because there's no film in the camera. And so like in that moment, like I had to let this model know that like we had to do all of that again without letting them know that I forgot the film. Because I'm a strong proponent of not letting them know where your biggest mess ups are. And I'm not saying lying, but like
I feel like it can't be the only one that's accidentally shot in JPEG or accidentally shot with ISO like 1200 or something on accident and didn't lower it. So you're going back and you're like, oh, these are all extremely small or they're super grainy. And yeah, that's always a fun time when you realize that.
Yeah, or with film is like a whole different, like Corey, like you spoke to it a bit, like a whole different side of like being able to fuck absolutely everything up and not know about it until a week later. That terrified. That's like in high school I did some weddings on film, but I would always like also do digital just because it was terrifying. I have friends who do weddings entirely on film, and I could never. I just don't trust myself. But yeah, no, I've shot blanks before for things that I was like so excited for. Also, just like film cameras are not always reliable. So like sometimes I'll like find an old camera or I buy something off eBay and I'm super stoked about it and I go use it, shoot the entire roll for something I was so excited about, and then the entire thing is either just like completely washed or completely blank. So yeah, that's another fun one. This is kind of unrelated, but I kind of wanted to hear other people's opinions who shoot film. I like usually it's for personal projects, and like not always client work. I'm coming to this thing where it's really expensive to develop film and buy film. And then I'm usually taking pictures of my friends. They're not usually self-portraits. And so, my friends want the pictures afterwards. And I'm starting to get into this thing where I realize I've been doing photography for a lot of people for free for like 4 years. And it's cost me a lot of money. And so I'm like running into this dilemma. I'm like, I feel like I can Venmo some people $5 right now. Like I feel like I deserve that for the amount of photos that I've taken for people for essentially for free for so long. Like so, and my friend, and they talk about it too. They're like, it's so nice bringing you on trips because you always like take photos and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, and I spent $50 doing it. So
I think you should Venmo them, especially if it's a project, just like not a project, a trip. I feel like you should preface it as like, so I'm bringing my camera. If anyone wants photos, like I feel like you absolutely should, because
100%.
I almost spent $60 today on 3 rolls of film.
Like the thing is, if you want your money, you have to front end it with anything. So like if you like, as far as shoots you've done and things you've already done, pictures you've already given out, like it's wraps. It's those, you gave those away for free, and that's the L you take. But like going forward, especially if you're doing filming, you're creating a physical product, like you're creating a physical print. If nothing else, be like it charged me like it was $25 for this paper, right? Just because like you charge people because it's not only are you doing time and effort, but like there are physical things you're giving them now. Because it's like when I shot film, like I wasn't done till I had a print. And so it's like if I have a print and I'm giving a piece of paper with a picture on it that I took on it, like that's a product. And as much as like, I mean, like that's a product. And if you're paying for it and it's not class and things like that, a $5 Venmo isn't too bad. But it's like front end it with that so that people expect it. Because like when unexpected charges come out, that's how you lose friends and stuff.
So I assume you guys are developing your own film because like you want to, right?
currently right now, no. Well, I used to develop black and white film. Duke has a film studio where you can do that, but I don't have access to it. So right now I'm paying to develop my film, which is crazy.
Yeah, Iowa, you can develop your own here at Iowa. And like, I know how to do it, but for me, we have shop up in Cedar Rapids, which is like 30 minutes north of where I'm living right now. And it's like $8 for a roll of film. And then not only do you get a 4x6, but you get like a whole file of TIFFs. So look for a place that will develop your film, A, for cheap, because I know Photo Pro will, you just have to ship it to them. And B, send you TIFFs so that you can just
print it
make
out.
your own prints.
Yeah.
You used Photo Pro before?
Yeah, no, they're my local camera shop. That's where I've bought all of my cameras and stuff. I can shoot a link in the chat.
That'd be great.
Yeah, do that.
Something I want to ask you guys, and this applies for everybody, is what is your guys' thoughts and feelings about credit for photos when people post your photos for on like social media? I feel like everyone's different, and I just like to hear other people's opinions about it.
100% necessary. If you don't do it, I will call you out.
Yeah, I too think it's 100% necessary. I tell people, like, I got one rule, like, I have two rules. Don't edit my shit, credit me. And it's like, if you don't credit me, like, I might not go on Instagram and flame you, but like, I might send you a little DM like, oh, it's crazy. This picture looks real nice. I wonder who took it. Or just like that friend discount that you got the first time, it's like, it just won't happen again. Cause like I had one rule, and it's like the rules that you credit me, and it's like, it's not. And then I get so mad when people are like, well, it makes the Instagram caption bad. It makes the caption not pretty. And I'm like, bro, I will make your face not pretty. I'm kidding. I'm not gonna fight nobody. But like, I have
Like,
one
skip
thing.
a few lines and say photo creds me, or literally tag me in the fucking photo. Like, tagging me in the photo, I will accept. Because for the most part, people can see that somebody's tagged in the photo. So like, I'll accept that, but I would love it if you did both.
So I do this thing where I just like automatically have a blanket like template for everything I release, and it's just like, please credit me if you use it, and I always like tag like the appropriate link, and then I watermark all my photos, and people have complained to me about it, and they're just like, how come you watermark all these photos? That's so unprofessional. Da da da. I'm like, okay, well, if you were the professional, you can give me that feedback, but you're not. You're coming to me for that, and also I know for a fact that you don't tag anyone in your photos. So I'm just gonna leave this here, because the people who will crop it out will probably tag you, or I don't know. It's just like one of those things where, like, as a rule of thumb, I just like automatically like slip the watermark in there, and it's like not the most obtrusive. It's not like your yearbook prints where it's just like watermark just like diagonally across the entire frame. It's like in the bottom right corner. It's very subtle. It's like faded. But yeah, people are real bad about giving you credit when credit is due, and it's always like really awkward afterwards to ask them. They like, I don't know, yeah. But that's what I do. I just like kind of leave it there. And some people ask me like, "Yo, can I get like non-watermark versions?" And I'm like, "Are you printing them? Like, what's the deal?" And you have to like, there's like certain key phrases and keywords that I look for in their response that like changes whether or not I give them like a file without a watermark. Because otherwise it's like, you know, like you're just trying to remove me from this, and that's just not cool, because it's my art, and we put in all the work behind it. So
I feel like watermarks are a little bit tricky for me because like, I mostly only use them for event photography, and when I do, it's the stuff that I'm releasing to pretty much everybody who's been at the event. Other than that, like, I don't use watermarks for anything else. One, because I hate my logo, and I haven't bothered to pay someone, and I haven't bothered to try and redo it. And two, I just don't like seeing it on the photos that I deliver to people that I do stuff for like the magazines or stuff, because it's just like, in a way for me, it just looks tacky if that's how I'm trying to get my work out there. Like I would rather DM them and make them give me credit. And usually people are pretty chill about that.
I really am a big tagger person. I would watermark more of my stuff, but the way that my logo looks doesn't go with a lot of my pictures. And so like
Thanks for having logos.
I don't think anyone really likes their logo. Let's be honest.
no, Conrad's is nice. Like I'm not gonna cap. Like Conrad's is smooth.
Conrad, I'm gonna have to see it.
Like his is smooth. And Mark is smooth too if we're keeping it in the buck. And mine isn't too shabby. I just don't like it on my photos, you feel me?
Stand corrected.
No, Conrad's is smooth. Let me see. Dang, I don't have any more real questions for y'all. But we got 15 more minutes.
Do you guys ever use contracts when doing like event photography?
All the time. Only like yeah.
Do you guys have any fun clauses that you throw in?
If y'all damage my camera, like if something in the event happens, because I have shot some like rowdier things, and it's like if in the event of a damaging, because like I'll shoot like socials, and when I shoot those socials, I'll set up lights, and my one rule is like don't touch the light, and every time somebody will come by and like hit the light, and it like I've had multiple times where it almost fell or like fell and hit the ground. It's like in case of damage, that's on y'all. Like y'all are paying for that. But that's
I totally get that because my light bulbs, I should say, are way too expensive to be broken. I put fun clauses in mine in case like the client tries to fuck me over, like canceling without a reason. If there's a discount applied, it goes up to full price, and if it's at full price, it's an extra $100. Because I've had people just try and like cancel me day of, and I'm like, I have turned down other work for this day. And also, like if you're shooting events and weddings, always put a food clause in there where if they're serving people food, you get food too.
That's real.
The wedding game is honestly where all the money's at.
But it's so stressful.
It's so stressful, but I really highly recommend to all of you, like, if you're ever like, I need some quick cash, shoot wedding. You can make over $1,000 in a day real easy, and you get fed and free alcohol. It is a vibe. It really is. And they're honestly like, event photography sucks, but I like weddings because I don't know, the event itself feels so like you're really a part of something that's going to be like something for someone for an entire lifetime.
Yeah.
It really does feel different when you're shooting that versus like going to formals or socials.
I enjoy weddings, but I just think they're so stressful, and like I don't need that stress in my life unless I really need money. I don't know. I mean, props to anyone who does wedding photography on a daily. I've seen people who shoot like 2 weddings a day, 6 days a week, and I'm like, you're insane, but good for you.
Nah, man, I want to add that to my lexicon of things I shoot. Like, I need to get plugged into some weddings. Conrad, it looked like you had something to say about what we were just talking about, the like contracts and stuff.
I mean, I don't really put anything too crazy in my contracts, if I even have contracts. Like usually like a verbal agreement. It's always a verbal agreement, and then like the contract if I like have no clue who you are. I like throw stuff in there, nothing out of the ordinary. But I mean, a contract's a contract. Sometimes I might just like put in something like Tiffany? No, never mind. I don't do anything stupid with contracts, actually, now I think about it. No, I realize I have nothing to contribute to this question.
Contract law is it's a little iffy, but for the most part, if you're making a contract, you can typically just type something up and it's an agreement. if you're going to be reusing it over and over again, maybe start talking to a lawyer in there, or just research it really well. But
we gotta, Marvin, you said your family has 4 lawyers in it. Do you use contracts? I assume you should use contracts.
Yeah, I use contracts. But I'm typically like I'll send it unless I don't know you, like I need your signature. But I'll send them all the time. Well, like 90% of the time. Um, yeah, I just make sure I have like the act of God clause in there, and then like who the work, like who owns the work and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, nothing too crazy.
While we're talking about clientele, one of the things I want to know about, like just in general, how do y'all go about getting your name out there? Like, I know like you moved to a whole different space, Marvin. Like Kayla, you've been on the scene for a while. Conrad, your Instagram presence is kind of fire. Like, how do y'all go about just like getting your names out there and just, you know, making sure you have more clientele? Like,
so in high school, I worked at first with like an established wedding photographer, and then kind of built my name out from there. And like I think establishing good standing with other photographers in your area is really big, because when she was like overbooked, she would recommend me to anybody who she just like couldn't fit in her schedule. So it kind of just built up from there. And then at Duke, it was just kind of like it really was word of mouth. I think moving to like a new city and state will probably be like a whole different like game plan. So like, yeah, like Marvin, I'm really like excited to hear what you have to say about this. I think that like building a social media presence and, you know, like offering to do some pro bono stuff for like just personal projects so that people can kind of see what your style is. I think that's really where it comes from. Like that's the thing, is like I feel like a lot of clients have gotten is just because of things I posted on my own Instagram. I haven't been good about asking people to credit me on grad photos like ever, and I don't have a logo. So, and I like made a website that I haven't updated in over a year. But so for me, it's been mainly like social media and word of mouth. I just like really emphasize when I'm taking people's photos, like let anyone that you know if they need photos for anything, I'll do literally anything as long as I get paid. But so yeah, I think it was mainly word of mouth. But I don't know, moving to a new state, I also just don't know like what capacity I'm going to be taking photos at when I move and start working full time. I'm not pursuing photography as a career currently, so I'm kind of excited to see like the new ways that photography kind of integrates into my life after college. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, for me, it's a lot of word of mouth. Word of mouth, a lot of like referrals. One thing I've started to do is give clients discounts if they get me like a referral, like refer someone to me and they end up using me. So a lot of that. A lot of my friends tell their friends who have like businesses and stuff, and will ask me to shoot for them. I do event stuff, just word of mouth. A lot of it's word of mouth. I meet people at events, other photographers, videographers there. That kind of helps to build out like a network type of thing. My mentor, there's I'm not really sure how to. I've met her like through people I know in New York, and she's part of this. I forget the name, but it's this collective type of thing of Black photographers that was started in like 19 like 50, 70, like 50, 60, 70, something like that. But she's basically gonna. She told me to hit her up back up at a certain point once I had done. She gave me a list of things to do. That she would like send me other people. So yeah, a lot of word of mouth, trying to network, similar to, I guess, to corporate America in a weird sense. But yeah, a lot of referrals.
I have a recommendation of something as far as like getting your name out that I've been thinking a lot about. especially with everything that's gone on with like supporting Black artists, like Black Lives Matter, everything in alignment with that. I've seen a lot of people like shout people out, and have even, I don't know what kind of following I have, but like as a curator, I feel like it's, your duty to kind of support artists in that way. So I've been trying to come up with ways to do that as well, and have actually like made internet friends with people as a result of it, or like have emailed, some people that have like bigger accounts as far as like, could we collaborate, like whatever, since we're in quarantine and we can't go to events and network the way that we normally would. And it's actually like worked out. Can you give me 1 second? I am on the phone. Okay. But yeah, it has worked out pretty well for me. I've met some people and I've seen how it can really boost other people's followings. So just something to like look out for as far as like building your presence and stuff, especially if you're thinking about moving and like going to a new place. So that's my recommendation.
I've noticed, I'm sure you've all made your Instagrams business accounts and looked at your insights, but you can see when people like follow you from a hashtag or been added and all that fun stuff. So Instagram marketing is not my favorite thing by any means, but I've kind of had to get through it. And so like, I mean, knowing other photographers and just going out, shooting with them, or even just like being good friends with them is how you get a very long ways. I mean, I found out about this because of Harrison Schultz, who knows all of you guys. So like just knowing people in the area that you're going. So like look up the hashtags for wherever you're going to move to, see what people are using. You'll end up running into a few photographers on Instagram, start following them, build a relationship with that. And that's like a pretty good way of building the relationship with the photographer. And then, like you said, the shout outs from there. I mean, the more people who you connect with, the more people then know your name, and then the more shout outs you can get. So it's kind of what goes around comes around sort of thing. So if you're shouting out people, they're more likely to shout out you. Collaborations are great. So digital marketing's a pain in the butt. I'm just going to say that, but it's kind of fun and worth it.
I have a question actually. I've in thinking about connecting to other photographers and stuff, I've heard a few of you mention that you had mentors or like people that you worked under. How did you build those relationships? Or even make that ask, I guess.
Well, like mine was a professor. I had a few professors out of the documentary studies department who really kind of took to my work, I think. And so we, after a while, it seemed like they were kind of looking out for me. And those were the first people I went to. Like it felt natural going to them to look at my pictures and things like that. And it was just like, it started off with them just looking over my pictures, then them seeing that like, oh, I had a certain kind of style that they liked and they wanted to keep mentoring, and like I've just been going back ever since.
Yeah, I've had a few like photographer mentors at Duke, but before in high school, I feel like having like approaching like business owners in like your hometown or wherever it is you're moving, I feel like they usually have the capacity, like the monetary capacity to kind of take on a mentee as well, like besides professors. I feel like it's kind of hard when it's someone young because they're probably working really hard to be like building their own following and building their own style. So I feel like approaching someone who's established themselves as like a known photographer, like I feel like they're usually more receptive. I could be wrong about that. If people have other opinions about that, but I've just found that usually like approaching someone who's more established in the photography community, especially where you are, I've just found that to be really helpful. So yeah, I think that's a big one. I've just found that like, yeah, people who are, I guess, my contemporaries, I don't know, my colleagues, my peers, I feel like everyone's kind of going through it with like, they're looking for mentors as well. We're all still learning. So I don't know. I think that's like my 2 cents on it for building those relationships. I usually just made the ask too. Usually I started with shadowing photographers, like just going with them on their shoots. And then that built like a personal relationship where I felt like I could send them my work, like when I did my own independent things, and they would comment on it. So yeah, asking it, and you can do it pro bono, or sometimes they offer to pay you too, but shadowing is a big thing that I really liked doing before coming to Duke. I didn't really do it that much at Duke, but I plan to probably afterwards.
I think a lot of it just comes down to like asking. Like you definitely make connections in like the most random situation, not random, but just like, you know, you'll never expect when you will make those connections. And it's just like trying to capitalize on that. Like, I think my most recent regret is I was actually at the, I was actually just shooting because like the resting place for George Floyd is like 5 minutes away from my house. And so like they blocked off the entire like 2-3 miles worth of like road, and like everyone was out there just like kind of waiting, like a peaceful march, so to speak. And like I somehow lumped myself into the entire like press crowd. I think I just like held my camera up and people just kind of like slowly edged me into that group. And I started talking to this guy named Mario who works for Getty Images. And I think like he got down my information, but my biggest regret was like not asking him like if I could like continue like chatting with him and discussing, because like photojournalism and like the work he does and he was telling me about is like something that I'm interested in personally and further pursuing, maybe in a more like a freelance sense. And yeah, like I definitely missed out on the opportunity because I didn't just like say like, hey, let me get your contact information. But I know like my other mentors, I just like bumped into them and I just like talked to them about like my interests, and they talked to me, and then you just got to make the ask. Because like, you know, if someone comes up to you, I'm pretty sure, and just is like, hey, can I like tail you around, not like follow you around for like a shoot or whatever, you're probably not gonna say no. Like you probably like, first off, it's like if someone came up to me and said that, I would be overwhelmed with like gratitude, in the sense like, wow, what an honor for you to think that I am capable enough to be your mentor, to some degree. But then also like, you know, it's really hard to say no, because you know that this is a community built like around each other. I mean, that's why it's community. And so I think that like you just need to really just be proactive, because 9 times out of 10, like people will say yes, and if they do say no, like they'll probably try to connect you with someone, because it's never like a complete no. It's just like a no but. So I think like that's my big takeaway from that. And I know I will never see Mario again because man is based in LA from what I heard. So hopefully he emails me, but we'll see.
I feel like Conrad brought something, like bringing this up is like photojournalism right now. This is something I kind of like, I would like to like ask other people's opinions about, is like going to protests and going to things and taking photos. I would just like your guys' opinions. Like I've been to a couple protests in Durham and took photos, but didn't feel comfortable sharing them. I just like, I guess right now it feels like we should be really highlighting Black photographers' voices on and perspectives on these things. So I just wanted to get your guys' opinions on that, if anyone wants to comment.
So Iowa City's been protesting for about a week and a half now, and I haven't been out every night, but when I have been out, I work as a medic and security. And for one night, I took out my film camera with black and white film in it, and that was about as comfortable as I felt taking photos. And I still had someone yell at me, and I'm like, it's black and white film, like I physically can't put it on the internet that easily. But for the most part, we've been yelling at people to stop taking photos of people's faces and stuff, just because, I mean, last night we had white supremacists running around our city, and yeah, no, it's scary. And like, we were out working and making sure everybody got home safely and everything. And so you think, I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable ever sharing the photos of people's faces, not just now, but ever, because it's just like, think of how much you can pull from someone's online presence and get them fired for being racist. And then think if that person is able to find a photo of you at a protest, I mean, that's just not something I want to think about. Therefore, I'm not going to do it. But yet we still have media out there. I mean, it's been live streamed on every news outlet in Eastern Iowa. And I mean, we made it to the Washington Post somehow. So, I mean, the media is doing it, but I mean.
Yeah, no, definitely not posting people's faces. That's really not right now. I think like I had a professor reach out to me. She was one of my photography professors, and she was asking me if I knew of any protests because she wanted to go take photos. And I just didn't respond because I was like,
I don't feel like it's ethical.
That feels icky.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I guess my question is more like, yeah, I mean, obviously no, shouldn't be posting people's faces in general, but I felt like that space should just in general be reserved for like highlighting the perspectives and voices of Black photographers right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, because I wouldn't lie. I can't lie and say I haven't thought about going to take pictures. Like, I probably, before this is all said and done, I probably will get to a photo shoot. But I think, if you are not somebody whom this like affects personally, or you're not somebody who might be touched by this, I think you should think about why you're taking pictures, because otherwise to me, it almost reads like somebody going to like a third world nation and like taking pictures with the kids, and like, because it's got that same kind of vibe to me. It's like, oh, look at these people who are hurting, like, and it's just this level. Like, we talked last week about like positionality, and like, I feel like if you're watching this happen, you should probably just watch it happen. And if you're somebody who's experiencing this in a way, like, maybe document it, and document, like, because that can be helpful in the way you experience it. But if this is something like a voyeuristic thing, if you're watching it happen, because like, I feel like for a lot of America, they're kind of just watching this go down. And so if you just want the pictures of the thing that you're watching going down, like, I think you should hold off probably. Like, if you say, oh, this would just be a cool thing to take pictures of, I think you should probably hold off. But Marvin, you look like you had something, and then Conrad.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was wondering about this for a while, honestly, because I mean, there was this video of photographers trying to take pictures of this little girl who got, I mean, sprayed with tear gas, and they weren't helping her. So a lot of, like, this is real life for a lot of people. And for those, like Corey was saying, it's kind of just like watching. Because I'm going to a protest this weekend, and I was thinking, should I bring my camera or not? Because it's not like I want to. I'm not taking pictures of people's faces, but it's still such. I mean, it's even weird for me, being like Black. Like, I don't know how to feel about it. Because like, it's obviously something that's very important and should be documented. It's something I live every day. But it's still like, I don't want people to just like look at this and like scroll by on Instagram and think like, or scroll by on whatever the platform they view it on. It's like, oh, that's a good picture, or oh, like, they don't like take in like what it actually means to people, and how much it really, like, how emotional it is for people. So I don't know, really.
Thank you guys for sharing that.
I guess
I think
something.
sorry.
Just something that I saw this week that I've thought about is the Gordon Parks photos of certain protests that Martin Luther King was leading. They're like these color film photos. Someone was making a commentary on like, why do we only see black and white photos of Martin Luther King versus a color film, whatever. But I thought about what it meant for Gordon Parks to be the one to take those photos and the importance of them existing. And so it's like, we talked about it a bit in the last show time that we talked, as far as like what's important is like the context of where the photos are. And it's not to say that there isn't ethics to taking those photos at protests themselves. Like, I think what you said about, parsing out why you're taking the photos is important. But I think about the necessity of it being documented, and even like for you as a photographer to be present there and what that means for you. That like it might not necessarily be a reason to not take the photo, but a question of like, what do I do with the photo once I've taken it? Because I think there's value in documenting, you know, I was here. These are the people that were here. This is a moment that I was a part of. As much, you know, we think a lot about the people that are in the photo, but what it might mean for you to have that image. But I think, of course, like what MJ said, like letting it just be something someone scrolls past doesn't quite seem fitting for, you know, the topic itself. So maybe thinking about, you know, I do take the photo, but what do I do with it afterwards might be the question I think about too.
And that was something that I was going through my head like literally a few hours ago. It's just like for me, like what makes this more personal is like it is close to my home, like and like this is something that like I am able to partake in, even in the slightest. But like where these photos are going, yeah, that's the biggest question. It's like, are these photos going up like anywhere? No, these are like for me, it's like as a documentarian, I think like if there is a story to be told, um, I think that's something that like we should capture. But then like, you know, the other question is like, who gets to tell that story? And a lot of like, you know, there's a lot of bias in like who tells certain stories because your own perspective gets, you know, scattered in there. I think the most interesting thing, like when I was in that like press huddle, was one photographer looked at me, and I did not have the step stools that they all had. Like some of them had step stools. I saw around like 7 or 8 of them, and like they were one guy had like basically had like a ladder. I was pretty surprised that he lugged that with him. But they're like, hey, your vantage point is probably the worst out of all of us. Like, how are you gonna get your photos? And like my immediate response was like, you know, if I get the photos, that's great. If I don't get the photos, it doesn't matter, because like it's more about being here in the moment than it is about like necessarily like making sure, oh, I got the photo that I wanted. Like, haha, like this is gonna be so great. I'm gonna like definitely benefit from it. But for me, you know, like seeing through the eyes of a photographer is how I view a lot of the world. And I think that like by going with my camera, I was able to more like acutely experience like the entire event and what was going on, and understand, like better understand um, perspective, because like when I hold that camera, my mindset and mentality shifts a lot from like as opposed to me just like strolling there casually. And like I think like of the many, like I'm in Houston, so there have been a lot of protests. I guess I'm just focusing on this. Of the many protests, this was the only one that I felt comfortable with, because this was the only one that I had like even the slightest connection with. And yeah, I don't know. Definitely not the best answer, but I do think that like at the end of the day, like, you know, like who like the photos themselves, like whether or not they're captured is one thing, but like the intent behind like why you're capturing it. And for me, it was like I want to document this event, whether it just be for my own personal sake, just saying that like, hey, like, you know, this is something that I can look back on and say like I can like feel the emotions that we're going through in this particular moment. It's not something that I necessarily need to divulge and send out to everyone and say like, hey, scroll through this on Instagram, like give me that like, or like give me the recognition I deserve for taking this photo. It's like the exact opposite. It's like this photo exists to capture a moment in time in history that I happen to be present for. And I think that that is like the most powerful thing, that like these photos do more than like words. And so I think that that's why like I went out there with my camera, because for a good portion of it, I wasn't taking any photos because I just felt like, you know, I like, what am I, like, I was also debating, like, what am I doing with these photos? Why do I have a camera? I'm not the only person with a camera here. So like, you know, what's my deal? Like, why am I here? And I really like struggled with that for the first like 2 hours. It was 5 hours. So I'm like pretty exhausted in the heat. But I think like going through that and like really thinking through that in the moment really opened my eyes as to like why we take photos, especially in events that are happening like in real time that have like, you know, like much larger impacts than we can possibly like imagine in the moment when we're there. So
Thank you guys all for sharing that. I very much appreciate that. Yeah, I was there and I had my film camera with me and I took some shots and exactly I felt in the moment like I don't feel like this is for me in the moment. I felt like that's not necessary for me to be doing right now. So at the time it didn't feel right, and then just like reflecting on it later of like, you know, and I've seen like other friends who are photographers who are white posting photos of them or not photos of them but like photos that they took at protests and just like reflecting on that. Yeah, I just wanted to get other photographers' opinions on that. So thank you guys all for sharing. Very much appreciate
I like what Corey said. It's kind of like going on your mission trip to Africa and taking photos with the kid and then posting it like, look what I did. It's like, that's not why you should be doing this. But one question I had is, do you guys ever like worry about, I mean, in Tucson, Arizona, they just said that you can't record a uniformed police officer. I mean, do you ever, obviously we have the right to take photos in a public place. We have the right to take photos of law enforcement doing their job, and we have the right to do video. But does it ever, I don't know, I mean, I'm white and I have this privilege and I still think about it because I have a very deep hatred for cops in the first place. But like, does that ever stop you from wanting to take photos, not even during protests, but like doing street photography? Corey, you're muted.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think to that point, like for me personally, when you like if a cop tells me to put down my camera, I'm putting down my camera. Just because like that situation can that whole I have the right to shoot in a public place, like it doesn't really work in the same fashion. Like the mechanics aren't the same. And I can remember tell this story all the time, but I can remember the time I went to a local elementary school, like during the day. And I was tasked with shooting like their situation during COVID. Like it was right before they had closed down. And I was I was shooting from across the street, and I was shooting at cars, nothing, I wasn't shooting at any kid, and like nothing particular. And I was stopped by 3 or 4 parents, like, are you taking pictures of our kids? And it's just like, do I, it, there's a certain level of awareness that, like, depending on your positionality in the world, we talked about that last week, that you're just gonna have to operate with. And whenever I hear anything about the limiting of like civilians being able to record or document instances, I'm always stressed out, because it's like any entity, like entity that is given powers that doesn't want you to record it or see what it's doing should cause for alarm, right? Any police that are uncomfortable with being recorded, any government that's uncomfortable with being photographed, like that's a problem, because it's like, what are you doing that we can't see and that we can't document? But like, again, if that law passed today in North Carolina and I saw a cop, I put my camera down, because like it's about positionality, man.
Yeah, well, off of that, like, don't try and argue with the cops, because the cops aren't the judge. You don't try and make your case to them. I mean, accept whatever they're gonna do in a way. If they're gonna give you a ticket, just get the ticket and then argue it out in front of a judge. I mean, if they want to try and delete the video from your phone, have other people record it, and then, I don't know, file a complaint. Yeah, like Corey said, if a cop tells you put down the camera, I mean, they're gonna find a way to screw you over if you don't do it, even though you have the right. But
furthermore, like the right doesn't really, for some people, the right doesn't really matter. It's like, if you run into a particular, like, I've been in instances with cops, it's just like they did not feel like being toiled with that day. And it's like, if you run into the wrong cop at the wrong time, like having your other friend record it doesn't really matter if you're shot or tasered or in like. And so it's like, I think a lot about these moments and like what I would do if somebody stopped me while I was taking pictures. And it's just like, I don't try to get it that far, right? It's like, I see a cop, I go the other way. I take the long way around the street, right? And so it's like, it's yeah.
I feel like I think about this often, not so much for police, but even to be harassed by other people. Because I've been harassed in my own neighborhood just living there. And there are a bunch of really beautiful kind of like open fields and more rural parts of Missouri near where I live that I've thought about shooting. And I always have to think about the fact that like I'm a Black woman alone. And will someone think that I'm trespassing? Will someone, try to call the police on me simply for wanting to take a photo in a nice area or just an area at all? Because it seems like I don't belong when in reality I live about 5-10 minutes away from it. So it's even affected like how I try to take the photos I want to take, because with COVID and stuff too, like I can't really do this stuff with other people either. And so it is something that I at least think about and have had to, I've tried a billion different ways to take a picture of my mother's garden because it requires me to not leave, the area. So it definitely is something I think about and have to think strategically when I want to take photos in certain places.
And MJ, I was wanted to hear what you had to say about this because I know you take a lot of street photography, like specifically. And so like when you're walking around on the street, are there things that you're thinking about? Like how are you thinking about you just being on the street shooting and things like that?
I try to be really aware, especially at night. But with it, like with New York, there's a lot of people with cameras. So a lot of times you kind of see someone else, and it's like, okay, like I'm not the only person with a camera, or not the only person taking a picture. Um, but there are some areas, like if you're like some areas that are typically whiter, more affluent areas, that I'm much more careful. Like there's a shot, I'm like, okay, I want to get this shot. I want to set up this tripod, do a long exposure. Like, but I don't really want to be here that long, or I don't want to be too close to this building because I'm trying to get a reflection of this glass. But I don't want the security guard to think something's up. So I want to like. So there are often times I don't get the shot I want because I feel uncomfortable because someone's looking at me like, what's this 6'3" Black guy doing with a camera? Or like, what is he doing? Like, what's the 6'3" Black guy doing in general around this part of town at this time of night? And even here in Georgia, there are times when I'm very like go to a certain. I mean, I live in a pretty nice neighborhood, predominantly white neighborhood, and not too far from here, there's this new development, but kind of like a shopping center, but it looks kind of like an older styled place. And even with their like trying to have photo shoots and set things up, like lighting and stuff, it's still a very like weird experience. But yeah, I'm a lot more aware in New York because people really do look at me very strangely.
Maybe, I mean, I've had some instances even in Cedar Rapids um, where I've had people yell at me downtown. And maybe it's just the ballsiness of Midwestern people. I don't know. But when I was in like California and Arizona, people just didn't seem to care as much what you were doing. Um, so I think it's a lot of just like being aware of your surroundings. Because I think street photography in general is one of those things that it doesn't matter who you are, people are always kind of apprehensive about someone with a camera photographing something. It's always like, what are your intentions with this photo? Because I don't know, they see one news story about a pedophile shooting photos of kids, and then they're like, automatically everyone with a camera is a pedophile. And it's one of those things that I think you'd always just have to be aware of and just try and avoid.
I agree. And then I always try to talk to people if I can. Like, you know, I think we talk about like these unaltered photos, and people want to take these photos without any kind of intervention. But I think the best way of, like, if you're taking street photos or you're taking photos in a place that you're not comfortable, if you can let people know, let people know. Like, you know, show the people. Like, I've had people come up to me and be like, can I see the picture you just took? And I'll just show it to them, like, no resistance, just because. And even if they ask me to delete it, like, I'll delete something. Like, I'll show them me deleting something. It might not be the picture I took if it's something I really, really like, but like, I will cooperate in as far as like they think so. So it's just a matter of like, you got to do what you can do so you can shoot another day. And so like, that's so people aren't taking your camera, so people aren't, you know, taking your life and things like that. So yeah. But like, I really appreciate this conversation. We're at about an hour and a half. You normally go an hour, so this has been great. I'm gonna be here for a couple more minutes if y'all want to talk about some more things off the recording. But like, I really do appreciate you guys hopping on this call week after week, and, you know, having some great conversation. You should see yourself on YouTube pretty soon. If I, you know, if I stop slacking, because I've been slacking recently a lot with the YouTubes. But yeah, I really appreciate this conversation. I'm not going to stop anybody from talking if y'all want to keep talking, but I do want to let y'all know that like, we are an hour and a half in. So
I will say that one thing that makes it a little easier if you are doing like street photography is just to have like your contact information available to them. So if you just like hand out like a card or just like jot down something real quick for them and just say like, hey, like this is like, if there's a medium that I will be posting, it will definitely be on this one at the very least. Or you can contact me about it later if you want the photo as well. Because I know, especially for like film, when I do shoot film, and I got one person who asked me about it, I was like, they're like, show me the picture. I'm like, you know, I wish I could see the picture too, but won't know until like a week and a half from now when I finally get to processing that photo in that roll of film. But if you give them something, if there's like some takeaway, because I think the biggest thing with like is just like the initial like resistance is just like, what are you gonna do with that photo? But if you're saying like, hey, I'm open enough to give you a forum to contact me, like a ways to contact me and get that photo from you, like from me, like people are more inclined to just be like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. And some people have reached out to me afterwards. Some people just forgot. And you know, either way, like it's cool. I still have the photo. I like to believe I'm not doing anything particularly malicious with the photos, if at all. But I think that like that definitely is something that like really helps, is just to have something to give to them, because like if you walk away with something, if there's like any takeaway, you're less likely to be distressed that someone like took your photo. Like, of course, this isn't like a perfect solution. This is just like one thing that I've found that like has been particularly helpful if you do run across that situation. Because like, yeah, people will ask, like it's gonna happen at some point. But this is just one way that I think MJ actually told me this way back when I was asking her. But it is effective and I've used it. So I would recommend you at least try it, if not.
Depending on the situation, you can also just say, hey, you mind if I take a photo? I mean, that's the obvious answer. I mean, there obviously aren't situations where you want that, because then it won't be as candid. But I guess the one night I did have my camera out at the protest, there were people like painting on the sidewalk when it was Breonna Taylor's birthday. I was like, hey, can I just get a picture of you painting? And I stood behind them and got a picture of them doing that. And they were cool with it. And it didn't affect the photo a whole lot. And again, I was still respecting like this whole anonymity that comes with the the expectation of this protesting right now.
wow. Yeah. Yes, to all of that. I don't know what else to say. I don't have any other any other topics. I ran out of topics 40 minutes ago, to be honest. And so I really do appreciate all of y'all hopping on this call with me. Again, I'm down to talk with y'all some more. If y'all have more questions y'all want to discuss, but I did run out of topics a while ago. So
Going back to something we talked about a long time ago, just to confirm, the link that you sent for the film, you can send it or you have to be in your area to have it developed. I think this is at Michael.
you're on mute, Mike.
We'll try this again. I'm pretty sure you can send it. I've
Okay.
had people do that. All right, let me hop on and look. Yeah, because I have friends here that will literally just ship it up there, and then they'll ship stuff back to you. I've had prints shipped across the country from them, and they're pretty cool about it.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, call and ask, I guess, because I mean they're cheap, and I think they do a pretty good job for film processing. So
Oh yeah, there are a few places like you should have a place. You should have a place that's local as well, but like
They do, but the 35 they developed 35 millimeter at like a pretty affordable price. Like, but
medium format.
it's a little steep. And I expect that it should be more expensive, but like I went to develop just like 3 rolls of film today, and it was supposed to be like $65 or something, and I just feel like I can find that cheap. I just know I can find cheaper. You don't think I can?
No, you
Or
definitely.
No, I promise you
I was
can.
about to say, I feel like
Yeah, no, that's a rip off. That's honestly that's messed up on their part.
yeah, because I'm looking at PhotoPro's film stuff right now on like 120 and 135, and it's like develop only is $6.95 for 24 exposures. It's $16 for 135. For 15 exposures at 120, it's $17.
this man wanted to charge me $20-something per roll just for Dropbox digital images.
What the
No
fuck?
prints, nothing.
Like,
Yeah, you're getting gypsies.
Yeah. And that's why I said like
I was good for something, boys. Woo!
The 35 millimeter costs like $11 to get it developed in digital scans or whatever. And so I was like, okay, that I'm cool with. But like 20? My pictures aren't even be that good for real. We're still learning.
I mean, I will tell you though, this for anybody getting started, and I know all of the beginners are off, but this is an expensive hobby. Like,
Oh my god.
if y'all want to, if y'all like, this is just something like you're gonna have to get used to dropping money on because
Yeah.
film and bodies and lenses and equipment, like.
But I feel like this is just, a small story. If anyone had heard the other story, I found a box of cameras in my mom's closet. So I found out we have like a light in the kitchen. It's a light box, like a full official light box. That's just like a lamp that she's been using. She said she found it for $4 at Goodwill.
I
had no idea.
Vintage stores for buying vintage cameras do not buy film cameras from camera stores. That is like the biggest thing I've learned. Like you can, yeah. Like I spend a lot of money, but I bought a Pentax 6.7 at like a vintage thrift shop, and it was fully functioning. I got it for half the price you get it at like a camera shop. So yeah. I highly and eBay too. eBay is fucking huge for film cameras. Like
I resell on eBay.
Yeah.
That's like my side business right now. If anyone wants a cheap Nikon film camera, I got you. Because like
KEH too, they sell a lot of bodies, and what they'll do is they'll rate the body. They'll sell everything, and they'll rate it from like new to like very, very worn. And so like based off of their rating, it'll like they'll have like 6 different Canon T7Is that are different levels of wear at different price points. And so
thank you for telling me about them.
And it's like it's a great come up for like lenses and stuff because like you can get like a 1.8 24-70, like that's pretty worn for like 500. Like I've seen some pretty crazy stuff on that website. Like
it's insane. I got this for free from one of my neighbors. It's a 1914 Kodak Junior, fully functional. it uses 114 film. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. My original photography instructor has never heard of it, and he's been shooting since the frickin' 50s. So,
Thing like
yeah,
that.
I don't know where to get the film developed that I have in this, but
Oh
You
my
might be able to
gosh.
send it to like text your local place. They might know because like the local
because
place.
it's pretty close to 120. Because I already bought a film conversion kit so that I can run 120 in this. So like I'm thinking I could probably convince them to do it pretty easily.
Also, there's probably some pretty big film heads wherever you get. I think that's honestly the best way I've learned film is like asking where I go get developed. I just ask questions all the time, and
Yeah.
they're such big film heads. They love to talk about it anyways. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure someone in there develops their own film and would probably just do it for you too. If you're like, if the business itself won't do it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
So
I'll do it at home.
my instructor just moved back to Iowa from Colorado. So like if he can't do it, he's running a summer class at college up in Cedar Rapids. So like worst case, I'll just drop it off and be like, hey Bob, please figure out how to develop this for me.
But I was in a shoot with I was a model for a shoot that shot with a camera like that, and they developed it in front of it. They developed the film in front of us. Like they had a quick developer, and they the film wasn't super light sensitive, like it because it was old. I don't know how that film, but like they were able to do it in this special solution, and they developed, or they at least developed the negatives, right?
That's impressive.
Which was kind of wild. But yeah.
Huh.
All right, I have to hop off, but I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. All of your guys' opinions and perspectives are very much appreciated. And hopefully I can come. I'm bummed I missed last week's. Last week sounded so great, but I hope I can come next week. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. But again, it has been super great.
Yeah.
All right, dog.
Peace, y'all. See you next week.
Thank you all. I love you all. Y'all are great. See y'all next week.
Hey.
What's good?
Corey, are you still in Durham?
Yeah. Let me stop recording real quick before you